Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by Toyota. One of the Cubs' top prospects undergoes surgery. We'll tell you about that. Plus, more of what Jed said yesterday in his State of the Cubs address. Plus, will the curse of the L flag continue for the Brewers? Ooh. And Brewers Karen. Hey, CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, driven by Toyota. Let's go places. Happy Thursday?
It is.
Question mark? I never know anymore.
Heading towards the weekend, baby.
Luke Stuckmeyer, Joey Christopolous with you, and Sean Anderson running the ones and twos for us today. We got a lot to talk about. Still got to pick apart the carcass of the Jed Hoyer press conference from yesterday, his State of the Cubs address. We'll talk a little bit about the baseball that was played yesterday, baseball that will be played tonight. And we can talk about the Pope. We can talk about Brewers Karen. We can talk about surgery for Kevin Alcantara.
Oh, my God.
Sports hernia surgery. He put it out on his Instagram stories. What I don't understand is, okay, so he's one of the Cubs' top prospects. He was on the playoff roster. The media literally just asked Jed Hoyer if there were any medical things coming out of the season, and he said, no, I don't know, we got meetings today. And within 12 hours, Alcantara's in a hospital bed having surgery. So apparently Jed didn't know about this yesterday?
Yeah, how do you like to wake up in your morning, Cubs fans? Like, you open it up, maybe pour yourself a bowl of cereal, open up your phone, and one of your Cubs players is in the hospital going like this. Look, sports hernia surgery, like minor, right, Luke? I mean,
sure. To you,
yeah,
not to me.
Yeah. But I don't understand why, on the grand scale of injuries and maladies and everything. I mean, I get it. Yesterday we got also a video of Justin Steele throwing a ball against a wall, which kind of got me a little fired up. But
yeah.
But what is it about not just disclosing and being transparent with these procedures? He's going to have a full recovery. He'll be ready for spring training. Maybe, did he just forget? Is that also possible?
No way. I mean, I know there's HIPAA laws and you want to be careful with that, but if he's going to put it out on his Instagram, why don't you just ask him in the exit interview? If they ask me, can I mention that you're having sports hernia surgery? Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem crazy to me. Like, the only concern I have about it is the same concern I had when, thankfully, last year, the Cubs didn't trade Nico Hoerner when we were all talking about, are the Cubs going to trade Nico Hoerner because they have to upgrade and they have to get a star, and Nico's the one piece of currency that they have that any team would want. And we said, well, wait a minute. Nico's got like a huge brace on his arm right before Cubs convention. They're not trading Nico Hoerner. Does this make it, if you were going to go the route of trying to get that frontline pitching or whatever, and Alcantara was going to be part of that because you were going to have no space for him in the outfield in the future, does this make it tougher to deal Alcantara if that was your plan?
There's a lot of different evidence that the Chicago Cubs make decisions on what they think is best for them, and I don't even know if it's a PR perspective. In this case, you're offering up a baseball perspective of when you go back to Kyle Tucker and the injury. I mean, he had multiple X-rays.
Yeah.
They finally disclosed that they found a hairline fracture in the hand area where the finger was. They probably knew that information right off the jump, right? They could have told people, or they could have presented that out there. I just don't understand it. To your point, is actually fairly interesting. But again, like sports hernia surgery, is that really something that's going to hold a player back? Would that really change a player's value when you talk about trade negotiations? And of course, that would be disclosed before the trade would even go down. So it's just the Chicago Cubs and how they want to deal with perception and the information they want to dole out in terms of injuries. But even Dansby Swanson's core injury last offseason too as well, like just kind of popped up out of nowhere.
Oh, he did? What?
And unfortunately, what happens with Cubs fans and when we're doing these shows is all we can do now is just speculate, right? And I think that's worse. If they just told us what was going on and maybe were a little bit more transparent with injuries or maladies or whatever is going on with them, at least we would know the straight story and we can create perspectives based off of that. But other than that, now we just get to play the game of, well, is the guy hurt? How hurt is he? Because we don't know. The Cubs won't tell us.
Maybe the injury happened yesterday at like 6 p.m. and he's having the surgery. Could be. Doubt it. Sam says, hey, Nico isn't going anywhere. Correct. I'm just saying that everybody in the offseason last year, we were all trying to find avenues of ways for the Cubs to get somebody like Kyle Tucker.
You scared Sam.
I know.
Scared him.
Sam, this is a year ago.
This
is a year ago. A lot of people were throwing out Nico's name saying, listen, you can repeat that. You can find that somewhere else. He's a nice player, but he's not a superstar. And sure enough, he had a great season, which hats off to Nico Hoerner, especially coming off the injury and having that season. Hey, so the Blue Jays got one in the American League. Now it's 2-1 Seattle. Did you see they hit 5 home runs? There were 8 home runs in that game. So while we have been told that runs are so difficult to come by here in the postseason, there were 8 of them in that game.
Well, I'll tell you something right now. The one thing that really bothered me about Jed's press conference yesterday was it really got under my skin when he referenced the Cubs ranking in OPS among the other teams in the playoffs. I think he said something along the lines of, well, we were ranked 4th in the among OPS of playoff teams at the time when they were eliminated. I'm sorry, that's like the most like nothing stat. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Seriously, you're literally just trying to defeat the opponent in front of you. It doesn't matter if you win every game 1-0. And in this case, we lost a lot of these games 3-0, 3-1. Bottom line is we didn't score enough runs, right? It doesn't matter what our OPS looks like. That shouldn't make you feel better as a Cubs fan. And it doesn't honestly matter what the Detroit Tigers were doing at the time, right?
Right.
It's one of those stats that really bothers me. But to the Blue Jays' credit, I mean, Vladimir Guerrero, $500 million man.
He's expensive.
He's having a pretty good postseason, Luke.
He's also up for a Gold Glove, too.
He's having a pretty. I'm pulling it up right now.
He's having a pretty good season. Big Dumper also went deep.
Yeah, so
our little Dumper.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Only once.
Vladimir Guerrero in 28 at bats in this postseason so far, slashing .464, .515 on base, .964 slug for a 1.479 OPS, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. That's a difference maker.
Sure it is, but also in hindsight, then if you go and look at it and say, well, last year when we were talking about it, or 2 years ago when Cody and I threw out the idea of, well, man, the Blue Jays need to mix things up. They're going to have to do something crazy. They're going to have to do something bold. Maybe they'll trade you Vlad Guerrero before he becomes a free agent. Now, none of that's happening now, but you never would have found Michael Busch, or you probably would have sent Michael Busch in that trade, and now you'd be looking at different financial restraints moving forward. Not that you wouldn't want Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, right. And I think we're going to have this conversation a lot in the offseason about not just whether Kyle Tucker should come back to the Cubs, but that number. Everyone's going to have their own version of what that big number is that he's worth on the open market. And I'm just saying, to this point, when you identify a difference maker and a guy that you think can be in the upper crust of baseball, maybe if we say top 10 hitter, maybe even top 15 hitter like Vladimir Guerrero is, and the guy can do something like that in the playoffs, it really says a lot. I'm not here to say Vladimir Guerrero is worth every single penny of $500 million because that's a lot. But so far, so good when you make an investment on one of the superstar players in the game.
Yeah, I mean, even Seattle jumping out to the lead that they did, it's led off by Julio Rodriguez, their $300 million man. Isn't that contract worth it, Joey?
He's had a great season.
Yeah, has he?
He's had a great season.
Because I remember, just hold on real quick, Luke. I'm having a discussion with Joey. I know this is on the CHGO Cubs podcast. We're actually just having an episode of the CHGO White Sox podcast right now.
Big Ten podcast.
Joey, back in April when the White Sox were playing the Mariners, he was like, I don't know about this whole J-Rod contract. I'm unsure about this. J-Rod and Vlad look pretty good for teams, huh?
And look, I'm happy to say that I was wrong because here's what I said. I said at the beginning of the year, Julio Rodriguez was a bummer to me. And I thought that he should be a superstar in Major League Baseball. And I felt to that point, specifically last year, a second half of the year last year kind of saved him. I thought he was a bit of a bummer, not playing up to his capability. And he's not only proved me wrong, but also he's gotten to that superstar level of hitting over 30 home runs and he's their version of PCA. And he's been great.
All I want to point out is that even Seattle, again, smaller market than Chicago, even Seattle has a $300 million player. We haven't even hit 2 yet. We haven't even hit a $200 million player yet. There is something inherently wrong with that, right? Like, you're the Chicago Cubs. You're the big dog in the third market in the country. You own the Midwest, and you haven't spent $200 million on a player.
And
that doesn't seem right.
And what's even worse is I don't think we've had a $100 million plus player, multiple of them on the same team at the same time. It was J-Hay into Darvish into Dansby, but they never existed on the same team at the same time. The Mariners, obviously, Cal Raleigh, they extended him and Julio Rodriguez. So maybe it's time, Luke. Maybe it's time just for once, just one time that they go into those deeper waters.
I would think so. We're going to get more into that in the podcast, by the way. And Sean, you can jump in on this one too. What's been more insulting to Cubs fans? What hurts more? What's more of a dagger in your side? Is it the Brewers flying the L flag on their field? Now the curse of the L has continued. We'll see if it continues tonight. They haven't won a game since. They've only been flying their L flag. Which also makes no sense because the L flag is what the winning team, the team that lost is supposed to fly the L flag.
Yes.
The Cubs fly an L flag. Anyways, I digress. The L flag thing, was that more insulting? Was that a better jab? Or was it the Pope, Leo, coming out and saying they lost?
I got to tell you,
when somebody yelled "Go Cubs," he's like they lost.
Honestly, I'm not insulted in
Latin.
I'm not insulted in the slightest by the Pope. I'm really not.
No, I think
it's really fun. Obviously, clearly, he said it with a smile on his face. He seems to, as the first American-born Pope that we've had. He seems to have a little bit of that personality that I can connect to because we are all also American too.
Right.
I think the Brewers thing is just, it's sometimes when you create an unoriginal idea and you attach yourself to a bit and then you can't let go of the bit, I don't think they can shake this bit right now. And it's just getting worse and it's spiraling for them right now. And man, oh man, ESPN Milwaukee had guys just like crashing out left and right in this series. I've seen people and Brewers making comments that how unfair this series is, that they have to play the Dodgers, that it's just now smacking them in the face, that when you get to the National League Championship Series, you face the best of the best, and not just in baseball, but also with your wallet. So I enjoy I think the Pope thing is really funny.
I do too.
I think it's very cheeky. The Brewers thing is making me laugh.
This is it. I think did he say that? I think that was with a slight Southside accent even.
They lost.
Hey, Marge.
Well, this is what I assume the Southside was like back in the 60s when they taught Latin in the Catholic schools. You'd see your Cubs buddies and be like, Han Perdido,
Yeah.
Well, the funnest part...
You should have said amen.
Well, I don't know if it's real or not. The one thing that I played this on my show yesterday, he kind of gives a clap back. I don't know if it's to the same guy, but he kind of gives him like a little, even like a chirp clap. Like, yeah, they lost, buddy. There you go.
We didn't follow up to see if it's real. Everybody's just assuming it's real. I think there's at least a 50% chance it's fake.
I think the fun part about it, though, is
it real?
Oh, it's 100% real. There's a video of the guy actually filming himself saying "Go Cubs," and then
we could all.
There's several. Luke, this is real.
You could make that video.
Okay.
This is a trust the internet question. The fun part about this, though, is Cubs Sox.
The Vatican.
When Cubs Sox play each other, whether it is at the rate or whether it is at Wrigley after the game, the victor, you're going to hear it down the ramp. Han Perdido, they lost. It's going to be a chant on both sides that is going to be a usable, trollable chant for either side of town, which I kind of think is fun, and I hope that turns into a thing. I think that's great.
Our guy Ron's with me, says, are we sure it's not AI Pope? Could be the AI Pope. We don't know.
He looked a little crazy jacked, by the way. Shout out to Ron, by the way, too. Recently just became a diehard. Obviously, Ron came and hung out with us at Old Crow.
Oh, yeah. He's been on some of the takeovers, too.
Some of the takeovers, too, as well. Recently became a diehard. Getting his CHGO Blue free T-shirt. It's going to be a Cubs CHGO Blue T-shirt. So congratulations,
the blue
Ron.
one?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. I haven't gotten that one yet, and I need to. So we had the flag. We had the other things. And then real quick, we also had now Brewers Karen lost her job for making comments to a Dodgers fan. And she looks just like Phillies Karen. So anyways, we're going to talk more about the stuff that we really want to talk about, which is Jed Hoyer's press conference.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. No. What are your thoughts first to break? Oh, hold on a second.
No, we're going to hang here.
I didn't know he was dragging. He was dragging. Sean was giving me this. I didn't know if he was waving me home, if he was telling me there was cake in the office.
No, I had ad one for some reason. Like, I think I saved it instead of exporting it, so we got to export.
Take your time. I got time. I can talk about nothing forever. This Brewers Karen lady, she looks just like Phillies Karen. It's the same woman. It's the same haircut.
I was going to say, like, I feel bad. So here's who I feel bad for. I feel bad for all the wonderful hairstylists and salonists out there that have prided themselves on making that haircut like their jam. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Come on down. I will give you that haircut because let's be honest, that haircut's got to go. It's got to go. And honestly, that haircut, it like attracts. It's like a magnet towards people that have bad behavior internally inside them. And the hardest part about it, too, is that she worked for a Make-A-Wish Foundation. She was on the board.
Yes.
And then, obviously, what's in her heart was a little bit different than what came out of her mouth on the job site.
Actually, we've probably all done something similar. But shame on you. Shame on you, lady.
Yeah.
And, it was Victoria Beckham that had that haircut first.
Oh, is that what it was?
And then all of these middle-aged women out there in central United States started saying, ooh, I could look like Victoria Beckham. No, you look like Brewers Karen. We're going to talk Cubs baseball in a second. First, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, sports fans, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers right now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. And also Thursday Night Football coming up. They have the early payout offer with football, Bet365. You're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Just download the app. Use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. They also have the 100% parlay boost. You can double your winnings with parlays with that 100% parlay boost when you sign up. So here's what you got to do. Head on over to Bet365. Download the app. New customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. When you use code CHGO365, props, parlays, whatever it is, futures, you must be 21 plus or older. And remember, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only.
Cubs fans, I had to put on my readers because I thought I was imagining something, but this is the actual fact.
We got a deal.
Toyota has 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. The RAV4 has legendary versatility. The Grand Highlander's adult size, third row is for real, and the Tacoma's wild side comes standard. From job sites to campsites and game nights, there's an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota ready to get you there in style. Find yours at Toyota.com or visit your Chicagoland Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. What a time it is to be a CHGO diehard.
The best time.
You can join up with thousands, and I mean thousands, of what we affectionately call our sickos, our CHGO diehards. Get access to our exclusive written content, free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on future merchant events, plus access to our Discord lounge, where we are always hanging out and talking Chicago sports and more. Go to allchgo.com for the latest information on how you can join the diehards already in our community. All right, back on the CHGO Cubs podcast, presented by our friends at Toyota. Lots to still pick apart from this Jed Hoyer press conference. One that really stuck with both of us was, the way he was sort of talking about what you can go after, like pitching, and how it's changed. The game has changed, and it's two different ways. It's the regular season, it's the postseason, but the bottom line is you can't have enough pitching. And one of the things that really bothers me about last offseason was, again, we're going back to this thing of, did they spend enough money? What are they spending? They're spending way more than the division, but Are they spending what they should be spending? That is the real question. Right now, you're spending more than the Brewers, and you're still not beating them. The advantage you have is you have more money than they do. That's one of them for sure.
Correct.
So when we went into last season, when Matthew Boyd was signed, there was no reaction of like, this is a garbage move. Nobody said that. We all said, wow, I really like the upside of this. This is a nice depth move. This could really have real high upside if he stays healthy. The FIPS or ZIPS or whatever they call it, they were saying 40 innings, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that cashed.
He
cashed big time.
He cashed big time. It was a great move for the Cubs. But at the time we were saying, well, yeah, but this can't be the only starting pitching that they're going to do. And then they went and got Colin Ray. And we said, well, that's nice too. But like, that's a depth. That's a depth piece. But what they've got to have front line guys. And this is when we thought they had Steele and Shota and Tyone. And we didn't know what Horton was. Okay, well, now you hope you know what Horton is. You hope that Tyone is the same guy that he was in the postseason, and you hope that Shota bounces back and Steele gets healthy. But the thing is still the same. They need an ace. If they have one ace, they need two aces. If they have Horton and he's an ace, they need another one. If Steele's going to be healthy and he's going to be a 1A, 1B, fine. You still need another one.
Yes.
Because I don't know. You need at least three of them going into this, and I can't count on Shota to be one, and I don't know if I really want to count on Tyone to necessarily be that guy, although he's very valuable. And a lot of those guys, their deals are coming up. We don't know what's going to happen with Shota. The bottom line is the Cubs knew they needed starting pitching, should have, because we all did, and they didn't get it. They waited till the trade deadline. That was a big mistake. So let's hear we're going to talk more about this. Let's hear what Jed had to say about pitching in general. And then I want to throw a little cold water on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's honestly it's the draft, it's the off season, it's thinking about all the different ways to do that because it is really difficult to do that mid-season now, and I think it's becoming even more difficult with the new playoff format to do that. There's fewer. Teams are kind of closer together. There's fewer sellers. There's many more teams in the race that have a chance, and then even some teams that weren't in the race made decisions to not trade. So I think that's a fair thing that as we think about what's changed in the game, I do think that's become more difficult, and I do think it puts more emphasis on all other areas of the cycle and how do we just continue to add depth and add arms. And I think I don't think that's unique to the Cubs. I think when you watch this postseason and look at different teams, I think that everyone is focused on that because the game has changed. With kind of one team exception, you're not having a lot of guys going deep in games. You're using a ton of arms, and the early rounds of the postseason involve, for everyone, almost a lot of bullpenning and things like that. So yeah, it puts a lot more emphasis on pitching depth than ever before, and it's something we have to. And I think we did a good job of that this year in a lot of ways, but I think we have to just continue to push to get better.
Spend the money. You had the opportunity. It's probably the biggest mistake that you made last year, waiting to go to the deadline, and then everybody was like, well, you can have our pitcher that has some warts, but we want Cade Horton and Matt Shaw. And the Cubs had to say, well, no, because that's our future. Yeah. And I don't know if they even knew that Horton was going to pitch like he would the second half of the season, but okay, glad they didn't do it. Glad you didn't take the bait, but everybody that you added was a question mark. Nobody that you added last year was a frontline ace.
No.
And that's not a knock on Boyd. Boyd was a terrific signing. I hope you can find another Boyd this offseason. But again, even if you're able to find this year's Boyd in the offseason, I still want you to go find me Flaherty. I still want you to go find me Snell. I still want you to go find me whoever that might be.
Bieber even.
Whether that's a trade or whether that's a signing. But in reality, it should be a signing because that's where you have your advantage.
Right. And look, Godfather CHGO on the chat here. Hoyer must have been watching the Phillies-Dodgers series because he wasn't watching the Cubs. Look at what the Phillies did, right? A guy that the Chicago Cubs talked about a lot last offseason, Jesus Luzardo. If you look at his numbers, maybe they don't pop off the sheet, but guess what? His stuff played in October. And he was the type of arm that you want to have going in the series. And I will say that my hope is, with what we just heard from Jed, is that the narrative that we need to break in this town, I felt like the last couple years has always been, we're always talking about, will Jed and Tom spend up to the luxury tax and go over the luxury tax? And a lot of times, last 2 years, we've come underneath that number, specifically this year. And I felt like the narrative was out there that, well, they're saving some room and some space to take on money and talent at the deadline. That is not a narrative we're going to accept anymore, because he's literally saying in that clip that, hey, guess what? At the deadline, everyone wants the same thing that we have. He's also maybe making an allowance and admitting that maybe the Cubs farm system isn't as deep or as strong, not at the top end, but in the middle part right there to go out and just get deals done left and right. So if you are Jed Hoyer and the Chicago Cubs, you have to attack this in the offseason. And I'm with you. I think top shelf, high-end, elite, front-end starter, great. You already have decent starting depth with, if you want to discuss bringing back Colin Ray. You want to have a conversation about what Javier Assad can do. You want to have the conversation about what kind of role Ben Brown is going to have on this team. But they need to attack this into the offseason. They cannot walk into spring training and say, well, we're just going to wait till the deadline and pick off the guy who's going well at the time to carry us over the finish line. Because I think Jed Hoyer is saying in that clip, and hopefully he's also saying it to Tom Ricketts, of, I just don't want to play that game anymore. The game has changed in that regard. The prices are so high that it will gut everything that we're trying to work on at the minor league level. So just let us do our work now so that we show up to spring training. And at the very least, when we do get to the deadline, maybe it is more of an augmentation, or maybe it is something else other than, can we go out and get that big closer? Can we go out and get Mackenzie Gore? All that stuff that turned into total fairy dust. Jed, I hope, is saying in that clip, let's try and attack this in the offseason and be better prepared for the long haul walking into spring training.
Yeah, we have more needs than you want to admit. Like Theobar, like Ron said, Theobar is going to be 40, Kittredge 36, Ray 36, Pomerantz 37, Keller and Palencia, two reliable guys, but you got to have Keller back. And what are you going to pay Keller? And will he respond? Will his arm respond after being pitched as much as he pitched this year? So those things are all there. I don't get why you can't talk an owner into doing both. For instance, right? Like,
yes.
For instance, like, why can't you say to Tom Ricketts, hey, we're going to go and we're going to have a massive payroll early on. We're not going to be the Dodgers, but we are going to go get Cease. We're going to go get Schwarber. We're going to go get reliever A, reliever B, yada, yada, yada. And he might say, well, yeah, but what if Jackson Wiggins develops, and what if you get a miracle year out of Jordan Wicks, or whatever nonsense he's going to say back to you, right? And he would just say,
Kevin Alcantara had sports hernia surgery. I heard he's doing okay now.
Listen, if Steele bounces back and Shota bounces back, and we have Cease, and we have Horton, and we have Jackson Wiggins, you know what we're going to have?
And Tyone, yeah.
And Tyone, we're going to have a surplus. And you know what? That's when we can take, at the end of his deal, Tyone, and we can get some of these prospects back. These expensive prospects that everybody's making other teams overpay. So we can have the advantage of having Tyone or whoever, Assad, whoever you want to talk about, somebody that another team will look at and say, you know what? We're going to give up some good prospects for that because we think we're in it. And we're going to overpay for these guys. That's the time to make teams overpay for what you have. So stockpile, use it for the first half, and hopefully you have enough that you can even say to yourself, we have so much that we can now, at the trade deadline, instead of necessarily just adding to what we have, this is when we can also take an opportunity to restock the cheaper farm system coming around the other way. You have to be creative. You got to look at this different ways. And so I just don't see why we can't say, oh, we can't have a $200 million pitcher. Go get one. First of all, you got to have somebody that throws hard other than Cade Horton.
100%. And just really quick, because I know we got a break soon, like, just look at what the NBA does all the time. It's about acquiring assets and then maneuvering those assets to turn those into different, maybe it's more elite players or maybe it's young prospects, but you can do both. You can walk and chew gum at the exact
But it's harder in the NBA.
It is. It's way harder because they have a hard cap.
You got to match all that. Right now in baseball, you don't have to do it.
They don't have that issue right now. And again, I hate to kind of name check the Dodgers, but they have Roki Sasaki as their closer right now, who started the year as a starter. So if you have this kind of surplus or you have this flexibility with your team, all of a sudden different players can become different weapons. And then my only last one before we go to break is that in the NL Central, look around what's going on. We just faced the Brewers in the playoffs with Mizorowski pumping 104. They got Hunter Green in Cincinnati. They got some strong arms there. Jared Jones is coming back with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm not saying that they're going to be good with Skeens, but there are some legit arms in the NL Central right now. The Chicago Cubs got to get into that arms race and start playing with the big boys when it comes to velocity and arms in the system.
We'll get to more of your comments. I have one more thought on this after the break. What do you think about the idea of adding a front-line pitcher? But first, a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Cubs fans, guess what? And Chicago sports fans, it's the Game Time app, and it gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means that you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are always included. So not when you check out, they bump a bunch of taxes on it. What you see is what you pay. And Game Time is great also if you want to go last minute, if you're feeling a little hankering for a little sports. Maybe in Northwestern Purdue this weekend. Go ahead and get tickets with the Game Time app. They got seat views everywhere, panoramic views with the app before you buy so you can see what the seat is. Lowest price guarantee. They'll credit you up to 110% of the difference. So here's what we got to do. Take the guesswork out of buying any kind of tickets this season with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, CHGO. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of the car or at the gas station 3 states away? I've been there. My kids sit on my sunglasses all the time. It's not a problem anymore because I found Shady Rays, and that changed the game. These are sunglasses made for real life. Seriously, good looking, polarized, durable, and not, ridiculously expensive. Okay? Here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays is going to send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacements. So now I wear these killer sunglasses without fear. On hikes, at concerts, on the boat.
Red carpet?
In the car with kids. Well, red carpet, yeah.
Of course.
Sometimes I just wear them at night. I feel better. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We're teaming up with Shady Rays to bring you the exclusive offer at shadyrays.com using the code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Shady Rays. Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast with a Toyota super chat from our guy Ron, who says, have you noticed all the pitchers in the playoffs right now that could have been a Cub? Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Castillo, Woodruff could pitch probably tomorrow. Yeah, and the ones that were already there. Flaherty, Cease, you can go down the list of names of pitchers, and that's why
Bieber again. I think Gaussman at some time.
Bieber's another one, right? Yeah. All of those guys were available to the Cubs if they wanted to go that route, and they didn't. And I just don't understand it. You remember when Theo had this idea that he and Jed saw this loophole back at the very beginning that they would just greatly overpay the slot and try and get a couple of really good guys in the draft. Mm-hmm. Okay, that worked. And then the next loophole they saw was, wait a minute. We're gonna really hit this international market, and we're gonna start putting all of our money. We're gonna try and stockpile that. So when the good player comes, we've got way more than anybody else. That type of deal. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Only this time I'm talking about doing it in the off season, at the beginning of the off season, when you could stockpile all these pitchers and then go ahead and move some of them if you need to later on. Or, you know what? Pull up your britches and act like the third market in the country, right? You could hold on to all of them, or you could go back and start getting some of the good prospects from other teams.
Well, I'm wondering, and they seemingly dipped their toe into this trend, and I'm hoping and wondering if they do it in the offseason. If they are the team that doesn't want to hand out the 7 or 8 year contract and stuff like that, well, there has to be some give and take there. It can't just be, well, we're just not willing to do that because guess what? A lot of the good players are going to be in that version of that realm. But what I'm advocating for is if you are the Chicago Cubs, at the very least, maybe you can get some more of these people in on the shorter contract with the opt-out, but the AAV's got to be higher, right? You have to come correct with somebody, exactly what happened with the Bregman situation. I get it, he's opting out, but we'll never know what it would have been like to have Bregman in the lineup just for this 1 year, and then you roll it over and you move on. I'm curious to see, like with the Cody Bellinger situation, right? They waited, and then they got him on a pretty good deal. They waited. They brought him back on a pretty good deal. And then they brought in Kyle Tucker on a trade. They moved Cody Bellinger out. It has been nimble. I will give them credit that they have rotated that position to get a version of that production from the DH/right fielder. Cody Bellinger, in his case, plays first base. They've pulled it off the last 3 seasons, but now they need to do it again. And what does that look like? And I'm hoping that whatever it is that they do, I'm hoping that they actually land something that's maybe a little bit more long-term. But now they have a decision to make.
David Snyder in the live YouTube chat says trade options. Swanson and Suzuki, both expendable and cost-saving. Trade high at their peak value now.
Can't disagree. Seiya Suzuki's value is at its highest right now. Not advocating for anything. Maybe we will at some point this offseason, but you cannot deny that Seiya Suzuki's value right now is at its highest.
Okay, so if you were able to trade Dansby and his contract, yeah, you would save some money. I guess you'd move Nico to second. You'd put you'd move Nico to short. You'd put Shaw at second. And maybe you go get Bregman to put him at third base. Is that more valuable than the mix you currently have?
Do the Suarez for 1 year, something like that.
I mean, that's the kind of creative thinking you're talking about. I don't know if you can pull that off or not. I would say that trading Dansby is very unlikely because he just went out and told you that he thought the identity of the team was defense.
I don't know.
Even though he's not up for a gold glove, the heart of that in the middle is center field and shortstop
and second base. My only thing is, look, and I understand that Dansby has a lot of warts, in his game. And I've honestly, I've felt the highest I've ever felt about Dansby Swanson right now in his Cubs career because I do think he was so fantastic during the Padres series, and I was really impressed with what he showed just from a leadership standpoint, and he hit pretty well in that Padres series too as well. Obviously, didn't do it against the Brewers. My question with that is I have no idea what you're getting for Dansby Swanson. And honestly, if you're telling me if you're getting some 20-year-old at Class A or Double A right now, pass. I'd rather have Dansby Swanson on this team right now pushing towards something significant than doing a lottery ticket like that. I just don't think we're in that spot. So I also understand people are like, well, let's trade Ian Happ. I don't know what you're getting for Ian Happ.
You can't. He's not going to want to go.
But even if he did, what would you get for him? I don't think it'd be worth the
Somebody
time.
might want something, but you're not going to get their top prospect for Ian Happ. And the same, Seiya also has a no-trade clause, so that makes that difficult too.
Correct.
Nearly impossible. And if you were to move, more so than even Happ, if you were to move Seiya, look how valuable his bat was from the right side. Now you have to replace a big bat from the left side and the right side.
Which is interesting with Seiya, too, as well, when you talk about the no-trade clause, is I feel like, they were in a bidding war. He was coming over. He was coming to America for the first time. And I think the no-trade clause might have been one of those sweeteners to have him sign with the Cubs. And maybe that's the type of style of negotiating that they were doing at the time. Maybe now in this new cycle of iteration, maybe that new bargaining chip is raising the AAV, maybe shortening the years and providing the player more flexibility to come to Chicago. But the Chicago Cubs got to come correct with the dollars to make that happen.
Ron says, Happ and Suzuki would be salary dumps. We've done enough of this salary dump thing. I don't want to do it. So,
Seiya, I would say you could get something significant for Seiya. I would just say that.
Bregman and Bellinger, the two opt-outs that have already happened. One former Cub, one could have been a Cub. Which would you rather have on the Cubs next year, and how would it work?
That's a great question. And honestly, I would probably rather have Alex Bregman. I really would. I know that we did the Cody Bellinger experience, and let me be honest, the Cody Bellinger experience was actually pretty decent for me. I thought when we're doing those watch-alongs, and we're flipping out at the swing and miss, and all the two-strike counts, Cody Bellinger would put up a professional at bat every single time. He was a throwback a bit to that late 90s, early 2000, shorten up and just poke the ball out there and get a base hit. and make it happen. He provided first base flexibility. He played a pretty good right field.
What he didn't give you was tons of power.
Nope.
And there were injuries just like Tucker. And I would warn, just like you've said, that New York skews those home run numbers a little bit this year. So if he comes here, don't expect those home run numbers to be the same.
It helped him out big time, and he's opting out of a deal, and he's probably going to get a pretty high AAV. I mean, when it comes to Alex Bregman, again, the lower half, the quad injury, it's something that has bothered him before in the past. It does bring me pause. But if you look historically throughout Alex Bregman's career, he does a great job of getting on base. He's got a lot of World Series experience. And I think if you're talking about the lineup configuration of the Cubs, irrespective of what you do with Kyle Tucker, I think Alex Bregman looks really nice hitting 4th or 5th in our lineup. It does create some problems, right, of what do you do with Matt Shaw or Nico Horner. Could you actually literally, after giving, I don't have it in front of me, close to maybe 400 at-bats to Matt Shaw, could you really ask him to pare that down and have him turn into more of a rotation role and get guys off their feet a little bit more? Like, it also begs the question of, if they did that, would it also be a signal to Dansby of, I'm sorry, Dansby, but you don't get every single inning at shortstop during the regular season, and we're going to play Nico at short, and we're going to play Matt Shaw at second and Bregman at third, and you're going to get a couple days off here because we want to start keeping you more fresh, right? The highs and lows of Dansby offensively are a little scary to me sometimes, and I think he's polarizing because he is so streaky. What if you backed off of him a little bit more and try to keep him more fresh? Questions to ask, but questions I'm willing to entertain, for sure. Where are you?
450 to 460 plate appearances for Shaw this year.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. So he got a full complement. That's a full complement of at-bats right there. And now you're asking to cut into a player's development by doing 250, 270. I don't know where Matt Shaw is going to be, but I'm kind of interested to find out.
126 games in the regular season, 437 plate appearances, and then he had 23 plate appearances in the playoffs.
Yeah. 12 home runs, is that right? Matt Shaw?
13,
11 in the second half.
13 home runs, almost everything after he was demoted. I don't think you can just look at that number and say times 2. I don't think you can say 13 and be like, he's going to hit 26 next year. If Matt Shaw can hit you 26 home runs at third base, then the Bregman thing is ridiculous. You don't need to go there.
Yeah.
Per 162 from the last 108 games from when he was called down and then called back up from, May 19th? The 162-game average says 30 doubles, 4.5 triples, and 18 homers.
Take it.
So 30 doubles, 5 triples, 18 homers, 17 homers. I
mean, that's a place where you're saving. Now, that also means that player is very valuable to another team. So if you want to try and take some of Tucker's offensive output and put it in Bregman, a more experienced bat, they might have been much more valuable at bats in the postseason than what you got out of Shaw. But you don't, as Jed said, want to put too much value on just the postseason. But you know what? You also don't want to put too much value in the second half of the season. It's a half a season. So I don't know if Bregman's the answer. I don't believe that they will go that way. Mm-hmm. I fully believe that they're like, Shaw's our guy. That's our guy, and he will develop just like we hope PCA develops, just like we hope Horton develops, and they will continue to go that route. And I'm with Ron. I think there's going to be very little offensive change to this team next year. I don't think this big move is coming, but I didn't see Kyle Tucker coming after begging last year for a superstar. I didn't see the Tucker trade coming either. And they traded a prospect that they thought very highly of.
The only thing that scares me, and when you talk about Matt Shaw, and you're 100% correct that next year we don't exactly know what we're going to get from him, but we do hope that there's a development factor that turns him into a legit player that gets close to the projections that Sean just described of 30 doubles, 4+ triples, and 18 home runs. I think that would be great for Matt Shaw. The only issue with that is that, again, I keep bringing it up of like, we have, as you just illustrated, a bunch of guys on this team in that developmental phase. And are you really selling to me right now that we're just going to hand the keys off to Owen Casey and Kevin Alcantara in right field next year and have them go through their development year? And then the year after that, then they'll be ready. And then they'll be ready. It's sort of like this wheel that keeps sort of turning over a little bit, and you never quite all hit it at the same time. And we have veterans on this team aging. Jed Hoyer talked a lot about how clean the books look in the next couple of years financially. So if they look so clean right now, you know that you're about to have some heavy turnover on the veteran side of things in the next couple of years. So why not just reset with somebody that can really help you pitching or hitting? I'm going to keep banging the drum for Kyle Schwarber. I don't even think we should shut the door on Pete Alonso, if you want to be really honest about it. If you want to talk about some right-handed thunder in your lineup that doesn't have to play first base,
right,
can play the DH position, can maybe spell Michael Busch from time to time against a tough lefty or whatever that is. I'm not going to shut the door on any of those guys because I think they need to add and then let the existing young players on this team continue the trajectory of their development, not start something new at a new position next year on the offense.
What if Tucker said, "Oh, I would think the Phillies are a team that are in the running for Tucker. I would think they might bid on it, and if that happens, then maybe Schwarber is expendable and they don't re-sign Schwarber." I've said it, and it's no. If Schwarber is the first $200 million player in Cubs history, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I've never seen a player walk out on a field like I did at the World Series in Cleveland, where I was like, this is out of a movie. Out of a movie. How many people were standing there, and I'm sitting in the dugout at the end of the bench waiting because that's where the staircase comes from the clubhouse. And I'm just sitting there, and we're all standing with our phones. And I stood like this, if you can see it on YouTube. I stood like this with my phone to get a picture of Schwarber coming up the stairs faster than anybody else so that I could tweet it out. Ridiculous, I know. But I stood like that for like an hour and a half with my arms above my head. My fingers were numb. Yeah. And you don't do that unless this player is special. And it wasn't special after that. And he got in a rut. And maybe going to all these other teams is what turned him around, and it wouldn't have been the same. But he is that player now. He is the player that you always wanted. And so go back and right the wrong. I'm not saying that Tucker's not a good option. I'm not saying that some sort of Bellinger reunion isn't. I know it seems like the score really wants that. Okay, all of those options are on the table. I'm not ruling any of them out. But if you ask me, number one, I would like to see the Cubs spend on Schwarber and then spend on a pitcher. And you know what? Go over 210. You had the third highest revenue of any team in Major League Baseball. Number three, I know you have other expenses that other teams don't. Taking care of Wrigley Field, the old ballpark, all that stuff, all the hotel space you bought up. Got it. Understand, but those are decisions that you made. You were number 3 in revenue. You can't be number 10 in spending.
Well, and look, you can go over the luxury tax and then get back under the year after. Ian Happ, as Ron pointed out, Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki are in the last year of their deals. I don't think one or maybe even both of them are going to be on the Chicago Cubs and re-up on a deal. So that's your $40 million back on whatever $40 million, whatever you want to spend this offseason. I'm telling you right now, the Kyle Schwarber thing, it isn't just nostalgia bait, Cubs fans. I promise you right now.
Well, some of it is, Joey.
No, well,
for me,
bro,
it is.
I'll tell you, the final part of my point is definitely nostalgia bait. But if you look at it, this dude, since he left the Chicago Cubs, is averaging, I believe, 43.5 home runs a year.
That's good.
And even if you don't have that expectation, and let's say he averages only 35 or 36 home runs a year, this guy, when we talk about the playoffs and we talk about hitting high velocity, this guy was top 3 in baseball in terms of barrel up rate on high velocity this year. Pete Alonso was also pretty high up there too as well. Any metric in terms of hitting fastball, Kyle Schwarber did it. He's got that clutch factor, and then the nostalgia bait. He's got 340 home runs right now. You sign him to a 5-year deal, Luke, he's going to hit his 500th home run in the Cubs uniform.
Yeah.
So I get it that everyone's like, well, just bring back an old guy. But I'm telling you right now, and we all know how clutch he is. And we know that he's been in Boston and he's been in Philly. Those are tough places to play. Him coming home would not be an issue for whatever you want to put on pressure or the contract or whatever it is. He's a monster. He's a monster. He's the special player that everyone thought Theo thought he was going to become. The Cubs fans hoped that he was going to become and didn't quite get there in a Cubs uniform. He is that player now. And as you said, we have a chance to right the wrong. And it isn't just nostalgia bait. He's a great player.
And it's also all the other stuff. Everybody that plays with him loves him. he's a glue guy when he's a superstar. Everybody wants to play with him because he's the most normal person walking around. He'll talk to anybody, yet he's this historic home run hitter. Stop. I just don't want the Cubs to go small on this. This is not bringing back Maddox when he was past his prime.
Nope.
This is not going and getting...
He's 32 years old.
Who was the guy from the Red Sox? No, this isn't bringing in Nomar.
Oh.
This isn't bringing back Arrieta. This isn't, hey, we should go bring Rizzo and Bryant back. This isn't bringing Javi back.
It's
this
different.
is Schwarber. He could hit 60 next year in a Cubs uniform.
Yep.
And that skill doesn't die. It doesn't. It might deteriorate a little bit, but it's not going away. The guy can hit, period. And you know what? We have a DH, and that will always play at Wrigley Field. Always. All right. So one other thing I know we want to get to, and we're going to have leftovers even for next week on this stuff with Jed. He was talking about, I don't even remember what the question was, but it was Bruce Levine was asking the question about, I think he said, would you like to have, with the way the wind is and at Wrigley and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Would it be better to beat the Brewers? Do you need like 3 Nico Horners?
Yeah. Do you need more Nico Horners in the lineup the way that the Brewers built it to play offensive baseball in Wrigley Field?
Yeah. I don't know if Bruce was getting at trying to pull a Nico had an incredible season soundbite. I don't know if that's what he was going for, but everybody like a lot of Nico Horners.
It was a small ball question.
But I don't want.
It's a small ball question.
I don't want 9.
Knowing the age of Bruce Levine and the way that he wants baseball to look.
Don't you age discriminate?
Oh, I will.
Here, Sean.
I know Bruce well enough. I am assuming that this is what he wants. He likes the respectability of Bruce Levine, or of Nico Horner.
Both ways to school,
Yes,
and I
you
liked
did.
it, and I liked it fine.
I just
Birkenstocks.
besides the
I've
point.
never worn Birkenstocks.
That's just Bruce seeing the Brewers and being like, man, I wish I was covering the Brewers.
Okay, so let's play this soundbite. This is what led to this. This was all the talking about Nico Horner, yada yada. But it goes towards leaning to say, well, does Tucker even want to be here? That's kind of the way I thought I saw it morphing in Jed's head as he's answering this question.
The ballpark thing to me, I don't really understand that the focus on the ballpark. I think I've been here for 14 years. It's been a mix of seasons, honestly. In 2023, it was one of the best hitting ballparks in baseball. The last 2 years, it happens to have blown in. I don't think anything has changed dramatically that will lead us now to having this happen over and over. So I think we're dealing with randomness, number one. Number two is a lot of players put up great numbers. Michael Busch had 38 homers if you include the postseason, and Pete went 30-30, and Seiya went 30 and 100, and I just think you can put up really good numbers here. The idea that somehow Wrigley Field is a hitter's nightmare, I just find that to be, for 2 years in a row, the wind blew in a little bit. But the idea that free agents aren't going to play here, or hitters aren't going to come here, I can't imagine a better place to play. So that's something I just kind of reject outright, and I think that it's, like I said, I think there's some randomness we're dealing with here. That said, and I've always said this, I think the fact that Wrigley can play so differently, it just means you have to have really good players. There's not a type of player that you can build. You don't want to go out and get a bunch of fly ball hitters because you have a year where the wind blows out. You don't want to go out and overemphasize, guys hit the ball on the ground and, don't have any power because it blows in. I just think we need, we have to be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife of an offense because we don't know what our environment is night to night. And that's every year. There'll be years where it blows in more and years where it blows out more. But the fact of the matter is we don't know day to day what it's going to be like. So I think we have to embrace it. We have to have players that can beat you in a lot of different ways. And I think we have that right now.
While that clip is playing from Fox 32, we appreciate that, Fox 32, WFLD. Sean said, that's Tucker he's talking about. That's the player he's talking about, the guy that does the Swiss Army knife, all those things. That's right. Tucker, if he's healthy, is worth every penny. If you can get Tucker in the first half of the season to be Tucker for a whole season, which it hasn't happened the last 2 years, you have a special player. It's why I will not eliminate the idea. The thing that made me laugh about the whole soundbite, as I'm driving in the car listening to it, I almost pulled off the side of the road, but I was only going 1 mile an hour, so I couldn't because of our traffic. As I'm driving there, he says it, and I'm like, he's going to talk about the wind not deterring a player because he's left-handed because you can't hit him, and these guys hit him. Wait a minute. So last year in the offseason, the wind was the reason why the Cubs offense couldn't come and hit home runs. It's why we didn't have a 30 home run guy. This year, the wind is the reason that shouldn't be a reason that we don't have Tucker back in the offseason. Is that what so the wind was a problem last year. It was a problem this year, but it won't be a problem next year. The forecast, he must know Skilling is saying, the forecast for next year, the wind is going to die down at Wrigley, and we're going to get the Santa Ana winds or whatever they. Yeah.
General manager yells at cloud is the headline here.
Jed Skilling Hoyer.
Yeah. Jed, I pulled up a couple quotes here from Jed from last year. Some of these were from NorthsideBaseball.com, so thank you for that. But Jed Hoyer said last year it was really difficult to assess when you think about how Wrigleyville played last year. Last year, Wrigley was 7th best offensive park in baseball. This year, it was 29th, and after last weekend, it might be 30th. So there it seems like he's kind of blaming
the wind.
Poor offensive play. In 70 home games at one point last year, the Chicago Cubs were 12-21 when the wind was blowing in. And then it also came at a particular time when they had binged on they scored 90 runs in a 9-game road trip at that time. Some of that is probably randomness, and some of that is probably that the wind is virtually blowing in every day this year. We have to take all those things into account. So last year, he was taking all those things into account. Last year, he was trying to, I think, protect his players from poor offensive performances at Wrigley Field by trying to say that the wind was blowing in and not to worry about it. And now, when he knows that maybe
it could be used against him,
now when he knows that Kyle Tucker might be walking out the door, and if he does, he has to convince someone else to walk in the door. Now, all of a sudden, the wind at Wrigley isn't a problem.
Don't worry about the wind. What he said in his press conference yesterday is what he should have said last year.
Correct.
That's what he should. Guys still hit home runs. Other teams come in and hit home runs. By the way,
correctly says Michael Busch hit 34 home runs, and a lot of them came at Wrigley Field.
I'm just going to throw this out there. You haven't had a 40 home run hitter. Last year, I begged them to have a superstar. You haven't had a superstar since Chris Bryant was the MVP. You haven't had one. Well, you haven't had a 40 home run hitter since D. Lee. Go back and get a guy that you know is going to hit 40 next year. Schwarber will hit 40. Period. It's not even close. He might hit 60.
Well, and we haven't talked about PCA yet, and there's obviously the extension talk, but you guys also brought up people that could possibly regress in 2026. I think Pete's a phenomenal, one of, if not the best center field defenders, which will make him a starter each and every day in 2026. But you saw that it was really hit or miss with him. And it's like Colson Montgomery with the White Sox. It was either a strikeout and a really bad performance, or he hit a ball 460 feet. Will he be able to be that 30-30 center fielder again, or will his offensive production dip? And do you need that guy that is going to be the bell cow for your offense, like a Tucker, like a Schwarber, that can deliver just night and night?
And that's a great point. I think the conversation that we're going to explore with that is, should we even expect that from Pete Crow Armstrong next year? Is a 30-30 season an expectation for Pete Crow Armstrong, or is it a little bit closer to an outlier of a guy who probably is just going to steal probably those 30-plus bags and still probably bring that great defense, and hopefully the bat to ball gets a little bit better? But is the power, is that a year in and year out expectation? Is that fair for Cubs fans to have that for Pete Crow Armstrong moving forward? I think that's something worth exploring.
Yeah, we might explore it on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. It'll be next week. We're going to go
one way to find out,
to deep dive into the PCA thing. I will just say I love how hard he works. And so I didn't see this season coming. I hope I don't see next season coming with another huge and more consistent step out of PCA. I just know that a lineup with Schwarber and that PCA, and then Seiya from the right side,
potent,
and Michael Busch, right-handed pitchers would be terrified to play the Chicago Cubs. Terrified to play the Chicago Cubs. You bring in as many hard-throwing righties as you want, they're going to be terrified. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to be here all off-season. Every day. You got Corey and Brendan coming up tomorrow on the CHGO Cubs related podcast. And we'll be back on Monday. Roman will be here on Tuesday.
Yep. It looks like Cubs related's tonight.
Oh, Cubs related's tonight. My bad.
So double Cubs tonight.
Double Cubs. It's a Cubby Thursday. How do you like that? Thanks to everybody in the live YouTube chat. Cam likes the hat from the Die Hard sale. Cool. Glad you're a Die Hard.
Good pickup.
Appreciate it. Way to add to your wardrobe. All right. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast, driven by Toyota. Let's go places and let's go. We'll do more Cubs baseball tomorrow, tonight, next week, and beyond. Thanks for watching Fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.